Perdana Menteri Inggris Keir Starmer mendapat tekanan keras dalam sesi tanya-jawab di House of Commons menjelang pemilu lokal. Pemimpin oposisi Kemi Badenoch menuduh Starmer kehilangan kredibilitas. Sementara kritik juga datang dari Ed Davey di tengah prediksi kekalahan besar Partai Buruh.
Mr. Speaker, he's broken his promise to grow the economy. The only thing that's grown is the welfare bill. The only thing that's grown is the welfare bill. So can the Prime Minister tell us, how many more people are out of work and claiming universal credit since he took office?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, she talks about what we've done in relation to raising people out of work. We have the youth guarantee that we've put in place for young people. We've raised the national minimum wage thanks to our Chancellor. We've helped young people into work by cutting NHS waiting lists, thanks to the work of the Health Secretary. We've put more police on the streets, thanks to the work of the Home Secretary. And we've cut energy bills for young people, thanks to the work of the Energy. I'm very proud of what this Labour government has delivered in the first session of this Parliament.
And if he won't listen to me, Mr. Speaker, perhaps he'll listen to the former Labour Defence Secretary, Lord Robertson, who is saying, and I quote, "We cannot defend Britain with an ever-expanding welfare budget." I agree with Lord Robertson. Why doesn't he?
Mr. Speaker, this is the Labour government that increased defence spending, the highest sustained spend since the Cold War.
Instead of getting a grip on the economy, the Chancellor is briefing out rent controls to curry favour with left-wing backbenchers. This is not a serious way to run the economy. It is time the Prime Minister gives her an easier job. So will he listen to businesses, listen to the country and reshuffle the Chancellor?
Mr. Speaker, at the spring statement, the Chancellor was very proud to say inflation was down to 3% and falling, 6 interest rates in a cut. We've seen the growth figures for the early part of this year. And she says, well, the cost of borrowing's gone up. Yes, because there's a conflict in Iran. And what did she want to do? What did she want to do when I said we wouldn't be dragged into that war because I thought through the consequences, including the economic consequences? What did she do? She said we should jump in with both feet without regard to the consequences. She can't complain now about the implications.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't hear him say he's not reshuffling the Chancellor. It sounds like she's toast. Meanwhile, the former Deputy Prime Minister is on manoeuvres. This government is like a bad episode of Game of Thrones. His own people have turned against him, and all the while, the Prime Minister is holed up in his castle, wetting himself about a visit from the King in the North. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, one Labour MP actually said that his days are numbered. That's one of them. I wonder who it was, because they're all looking guilty as hell. Isn't the real reason, Mr. Speaker, isn't the real reason the Prime Minister can't cut welfare that he squandered all his political capital saving his own skin?
Mr. Speaker, she talks about political games. That's what she was doing yesterday. This House considered our motion and rejected it decisively because everyone saw it for what it was, a desperate, baseless political stunt ahead of the May elections.
Mr. Speaker, I think the whole country is sick of this man's tone-deaf, pompous moralising. Last week, we all saw him punch the Speaker's chair. This is not a man who is in control. Since the last King's speech, it's been one disaster after another. Cronyism, jobs for friends of convicted paedophiles, peerages for other friends of convicted paedophiles, broken promises on taxes, U-turn after U-turn after U-turn. He's lost a Deputy Prime Minister, 2 Chiefs of Staff, 2 Cabinet Secretaries, the support of his backbenchers and all his credibility. Yes. They can jeer, Mr. Speaker, they can jeer as much as they like. They're going to have to go to their constituencies and explain to all those people why they did what they did last night. The fact is the Prime Minister was reduced to whipping his MPs to save him and pleading with a tax dodger to rejoin his cabinet. How much longer do we all have to put up with his shambles?
Mr. Speaker, I changed my party and I won a general election. She's changed her party, Mr. Speaker, because when I became leader of my party, their party was 3 times the size it is now. She's changed it. It's now even smaller than when she started at leader.
Yesterday, we heard Christian Turner, Peter Mandelson's replacement as US Ambassador, say that the only country Trump has a special relationship with is Israel, that the Prime Minister's job is in danger after next week's elections, and that in the US, Jeffrey Epstein's associates have evaded responsibility for their actions. The Prime Minister has had to fire 1 US ambassador for lying. Does he fear he'll now have to fire a second one for telling the truth?
Mr. Speaker, given what I've had thrown at me in the last 2 weeks by all the opposition parties, that's the least of my problems. But, Mr. Speaker, I know he likes stunts, but I was surprised he joined in the one yesterday, because his own business spokesman said last week, satisfied I had not misled the House. He, of course, his opening position was it was inconceivable that officials would give clearance to Mandelson and not tell ministers it was against the UK SV recommendation. That's what he said, and it didn't happen. I expect frivolous accusations from the Leader of the Opposition. Clearly, I was wrong to expect anything better than from the man in the wetsuit.
Mr. Speaker, I've got my dry suit on today, and let me tell the Prime Minister that when Boris Johnson was faced with that motion, he didn't whip his MPs. There was a difference there. And Mr. Speaker, experts are warning that food prices will rise by 10% this year as farmers' costs soar. Trump's war has exposed how weak Britain's food security is. Yet under the system brought in by the Conservatives, England is the only country in Europe where farm payments don't actively support farmers to produce food. So will the King's speech include a good food bill to fix that mistake and make sure people can afford the food they need?
Mr. Speaker, of course food security is important, and that's why I was considering that amongst other issues in the ministerial meetings yesterday in Cobra. That's what I was spending my afternoon doing, making sure that we were prepared and managing the risks of a conflict that will affect every single one of our constituents. What was he doing? He was wasting his time in here on a baseless allegation, and engaging in party political. He should have been working on the single most important issue of the day, but he wasted his time on a baseless political stunt.
Mr. Speaker, depending upon results in the elections next week, this may well be my final PMQs. I suppose. I suppose, Mr. Speaker, the same is perhaps true for the Prime Minister as well. But before then, does he understand that, yes, it's because of inaction on the cost of living crisis, yes, it's because of the debacle of the winter fuel payment, yes, it's because of the 1,000 jobs being lost a month in Scotland's North Sea and the closure of Grangemouth, yes, it's because of his judgment on Matthew Doyle and Peter Mandelson, but above all else, the reason why his time in office will soon be coming to a close is because he promised change but has delivered chaos.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of what this Labour government has achieved, and I'm proud of what we will achieve. if it is his last session here, let's reflect on his great achievements in Westminster. He kicked out his predecessor and then lost 39 MPs at the next election. I hope he can keep up that record in Holyrood next week.
Please could the Prime Minister explain to the House, if he's done nothing wrong and process has been followed, why did he need to force his MPs to vote against an investigation? Is it because he's worried they don't believe his version of the truth?
Yes.
No, it's because they can see a baseless allegation, a political stunt when they see it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Everything international law is supposed to protect is being violated. A genocide against the Palestinian people, the catastrophe in Sudan, the Gazification of Lebanon. Against this backdrop, the government last week closed the International Humanitarian Law Unit and stopped funding access to the CIR database of 26,000 human rights and conflict incidents across Israel, Palestine and Lebanon. This database underpins decisions on IHL breaches, arms export suspensions and whether the UK itself is acting within the law. Usually, criminals or their accomplices are the ones destroying evidence of their crimes. Instead, not a human rights lawyer or a government apparently committed to upholding international law. So my question is simple.
Prime Minister, sir, you've taken far too long, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me reassure the House that the work of the International Law Unit has not ended. It will simply be done by a different team under a restructure. We will, of course, continue to monitor international humanitarian law in Gaza and elsewhere and invest in conflict prevention and resolution.
Jelajahi cara baru mendapatkan informasi. Download MetroTV Extend sekarang.